One of the best pre-season weeks of racing is taking place at the moment, with the Volta, Algarve and Ruta del Sol running one after the other for 5 days. I'm going to be analysing Algarve because it has a better start list and more variety in the stages, with a couple of flat days and a couple of hilly days. Oh, and a time trial to finish on Sunday. Stage 1 had a late climb and finished in Africa, but was a mostly flat affair. The 3-rider break was given barely 90 seconds, while behind there was an awful lot of Deceuninck Quickstep's Tim de Klerk on the front in the group behind. It was a nervous day above all, and some tension before a narrow road at 32k to go caused a few crashes and the break to be caught right at the entrance to a narrow road. DQS invested a lot of energy to keep up front, but the road itself was ridden shoulder to shoulder, creating a rather static race situation. Tim Wellens absolutely shattered this with a surprise attack on an uncategorised climb 21k from the line, and despite being marked by DQS managed to cause a few splits in the bunch. In fact, there will be a lot of DQS marking attacks, firstly with FDJ Stefan Kung, who was brought back pretty quickly, and then later with Patrick Bevin, who fared a little better. The flight was actually joined by Vincenzo Nibali, which panicked Ineos into closing it immediately, which was understandable. Team Sunweb successfully imposed order on the field after 10k of fireworks, trying to keep the field together so that Cease Boll could have a go at a sprint. Sprint trains filled the road from right to left, but it was Trek Segafredo trying to split the field for their sprinter Edward Toons on the final rise. Ineos were just in behind, which gave Connor Swift the best position in the running, but also put him on the front from way too far out. European champion Elia Viviani is on Fabio Jakobsen's wheel in the final kilometre and gets a fantastic jump on him, boxing the DQS rider in behind Caja Rural's John Abba Asturi. I guess Viviani was concerned about giving Trentin a draft in this headwind finish, but his inexplicable jink to the left gives Jakobsen a beautiful gap down the middle of the bunch. Viviani attempts to correct his mistake by moving back towards the quick-step rider, but Jakobsen has fresher legs and an overpowering amount of speed to take his second win of the year. Stage 2 had 5 climbs in the final 40k or so and saw a decent 3-rider move given around 3 minutes. UAE would go all in for Rui Costa all day, setting the tone on the first climb by applying the pressure and unhitching the yellow jersey with 35k to go. The steepest climb of the day 5k later reduced the break to 2 and their gap to under a minute, while the first categorised climb minutes later caught them completely as the peloton continued to be whittled down. Ineos paced the descent and caused a brief split, but after finding out that team leader Geraint Thomas was caught out in it, they quickly eased off. This left Joe Dombrowski to set pace for UAE for over 10 kilometres in the end, isolating Dan Martin but not achieving much else. The peloton was reduced to around 30 as they went over the top of the penultimate climb of the day, and was notable for having 3 Astana domestiques. Despite this, they sat behind a slowing Dombrowski and later Jan Polanc, but didn't actually do anything. Of course, the team support keeps leader Miguel Angel Lopez out of the wind, an advantage demonstrated by Nibali moments later as he had to make his way up the side of the bunch on his own. Mathieu van der Poel and Greg van Avermaet are still in the bunch by this point, suggesting that damage really wasn't being done by UAE at the front. Finally, with the steepest sections behind them and only 4k to go, Rodrigo Contreras tried to soften things up for Lopez, but Polanc and the rest of the group were more than up to the challenge. And I mean, if Lopez is feeling that good, why not stack your riders on the front to set up an attack? But no, they'll launch Lopez from like halfway down the bunch anyway, only for a group of relatively fresh favourites to bring him back. Simon Geschke attacked a lull in the action with 2k to go and initially got some space, but João Almeida had just about enough in the tank to bring him back for Quickstep's Remco Evenepoel. Evenepoel is probably the best time trialist in the remaining group, so he has the freedom to respond to attacks rather than make them, as he can bank on the final time trial. DQS park Almeida on the front to keep the group together for as long as possible, but once he starts to run out of steam, Remco has no second thoughts on what to do next. Lopez is the only one with the snap to react, but unluckily comes out of his pedal, opening a gap of around 5 bike lengths. Rui Costa tries to respond but can only really hold the gap, and so Maximilian Schachmann of Bora ditches them all to chase on his own. The German champion finishes with such a burst in the final 100 metres that had he been positioned a little better in the final K, he might just have won it. The group came in dribs and drabs behind, with the luckless Lopez 5 seconds down, an off-form Nibali at 8 seconds, and a collapsed Ineos with Kwiatkowski and Thomas coming in 30 seconds and a minute down respectively. Schachmann is not a bad time trialist, but he will need at least 30 seconds on the stage winner Evenepoel coming into Stage 5's time trial. Make sure you tune in on Sunday to find out what happens. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.